Hey everyone, Charlie here. Welcome back to One Cup of Japan. If you're new to the channel, this is a show where we have just a conversation over something good that soothes you. Today we are drinking just a normal can of tea. Kind of gonna be a short one today. I said that last time, but I'm hoping to make it so because I'm in a little bit of a scheduling bind this morning. But thinking about, I've been thinking a lot about basically what I can do going forward to be more successful, and in doing so, thinking about some of the things I wish I'd done differently to be more successful here quicker. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. Break it into two parts here and hope to be a little bit more succinct than usual. The first thing I think that's really important to success here is, of course, personal success. And that's, of course, not limited to living in Japan, but I've been here for 6 years total. I've lived in Japan for 7 years, and I guess just because of some things that are happening right now, which I'll talk more about in future episodes, but I've been thinking about, okay, where did I go right, where did I go wrong, those kind of things. And I've talked about before about how probably the first 2 years or so that I lived here, it was really difficult for me. I didn't really have any friends. This was pretty lonely, you know. And then after that, I started making some friends in the YouTube community and that kind of thing. And then eventually I started making some good friends, sort of the local community here. But I've been trying to think about why that is. And part of the reason I was thinking about that is I have some friends from the aforementioned YouTube community who kind of like to make a big stink about how difficult it is for them to make friends, and I know many people who are frustrated by the fact that they aren't able to find romantic partners, that kind of thing, at least not anything serious. And thinking about my own experience and sort of just my observations on those people, without of course naming names and all that kind of thing, I thought might be useful to those of you who are looking to get over here once Japan actually starts letting people in from other places. Once things have calmed down a bit, of course. And I think one of the most important things is that you need to make an effort to assimilate quite quickly, I think. I think one of the things that is universal for people who find it really difficult to make friends and to make sort of any kind of deep romantic relationship too, is that the people who find themselves in this situation after a couple of years tend to be people who are well, I'm from X country and I'm gonna do things this way, and I'm not gonna do things this way because that's how I always done it and this is how I like to do it, blah blah blah. And to a certain extent it's fine, you know, of course there are some things that I do that are, I suppose, in a way stereotypically American. If I have an opinion, I'm gonna tell you the opinion, and probably sometimes it's a little bit sharper than it should be, given my social circumstances or the social circles in which I'm in. And that's, that is what it is. But what I mean to say is that that's not always going to be the best way. And I think, for example, if I always approach things as an American, I wouldn't have the friends that I have now, and I wouldn't have, a lot of the different relationships, the professional relationships I've made, I wouldn't have made them if I were just operating from a purely I'm American and I'm always going to be American, even if I'm living here, you can't change me, that kind of thing. You know, that kind of it's not national pride, I suppose. It's, in some ways, it's your pride in your heritage, your pride in where you came from, which is a good thing to have, I think, but it is also a limiting factor. And particularly, you're going to be entering a family here, you know, if you want to have some kind of a long-term relationship. And I want to point out, I've had serious problems in my relationships. Things are really difficult to get over. And so I'm not coming at this from I've always done everything right and I've never had any trouble, because that's not the case. And I don't want to give you that impression. Rice field. As you can see, these are pretty well along. Maybe another 2 months or so, and then they'll come and harvest these. What is it, July? Maybe 3 months, I suppose. I love this area. But you have to have this willingness to like do as the locals do, right? Because otherwise you're just going to make people angry. You know, and it's always that way, especially in like in a romantic relationship, right? Where you're always going to have to, what is that word? Compromise, right? You're always going to have to find some compromise. Otherwise you're not going to have a successful relationship, right? And it's that way in friendships, of course. And so I suppose, to sum it up, like, you should approach your relationship with Japan in the same way you approach your relationship, your interpersonal relationships, right? It's like you need to be able to make some compromise. Like, okay, this is something I'm absolutely not going to budge on, and this is something I'm okay with sort of doing it in the way my partner, Japan in this case, wants me to do it, right? So, yeah. And if you can't do that, then I think you're going to find it difficult. And that is something that, going through sort of like this evaluation process of things that I did well and things I did poorly, that's something that I did poorly for those first 2 years. Is just like, oh, I'm here, but guess what? I'm an American, and you're just going to have to deal with it. When the reality of the situation is opposite, right? Nobody has to change for you here. You know, if you want a job or whatever, right? Like, if you want friends or whatever, nobody needs to change for you here. Nobody's looking for you to be their friend, right? The opposite is true. Look at this dragonfly just sitting perched on this weed. How close can we get? You're still alive. You're beautiful. Never seen this before. I wonder what this means for this dragonfly. Are you on your death throes, or like, oh, wait, no. Anyway, let's move along. And that's probably like the biggest advice I guess I would give you personally, is just sort of not do as I did and sort of get to it a lot faster. Just sort of like, right, what is acceptable socially? Like, what are some compromises you can make? What are some changes you can make to make friends quicker and to, you know, whatever. Because I can tell you, man, is it lonely if you're not willing to sort of compromise, right? It can be so lonely. This moss is so beautiful. It's we're sort of at the tail end of rainy season here. You can look, if you look at the sky, you see probably we're gonna have rain here sooner than later today. But what happens is that despite how cloudy it's been, like I've said this before in other videos, but just the greens that you do see tend to look like somebody just turned up the saturation on your life kind of thing. It's really, really beautiful. You can hear the cicada here. Oh, here's another dragonfly, same color. Oh, are you the same one? I wonder. Well, anyway, I'm gonna give you guys motion sickness. You know, so just try to assimilate. I don't think you should assimilate 100% because you are who you are. And, you know, but anyway, beating that point to death. The next thing to talk about is sort of like the professional part of that situation, right? I have recently been taking some job interviews, and one of the things I've and again, I've been going through this kind of evaluation process, and one of the things I wish I did sooner was sort of do things that weren't related to English, at least English teaching. About 2 years ago, I started getting professionally into translating, and I do that on a freelance basis now. You know, I make a good bit of like cash on the side from that, so that's nice. But there's that, but also I started not teaching myself programming, but like Code Academy and stuff like that, using that to learn some basic programming and that kind of thing. And it's something I wish I'd done a lot sooner, just because, especially now where it's of course it's not just a here thing, but where jobs are increasingly difficult to come by because of the economic situation caused by Corona. You know, and that's something that I took too long on, and I think it's just that's not really what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the reasons why I think you can find yourself, or how you can find yourself in this trap where you don't sort of like try to increase your qualifications in any sense. And I think what happens, and I want to say that I've mentioned it sort of at least in passing before, but you get like, I don't know that you will, but I think you can get stuck in this mindset where like, okay, you're living here, but effectively what happens is you get stuck in like a long-term tourist sort of mentality, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm in a new place, everything is still new and exciting and whatever, and I still have a lot of things that are quite a bit, I still find things out that I didn't know before, and things that are quite exciting, right? Just like somebody told me about like a local high school, like the history about a local high school in Fukui City, and just that, I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that before, how like high quality of a high school it is, like how a lot of people go to Todai, Tokyo University, from there each year, and you learn little things like that every day, but like and it has to do with it was talking about, right, like this idea of assimilation is like just sort of treating it like you are transient, right? Like, oh well, I'm not going to be here very long, so why try to get involved in the local area? And that's really sort of we've already talked about sort of the problems that can cause to you personally, but professionally too, right? Like if you just sort of act like, okay, well, I'm going to be gone here in a couple of years anyway, even though that wasn't originally my plan, I just was like, okay, well, I'll go to work in the week, and I'll go and get drunk on the weekends while I travel someplace, and drink with people who I don't really know, and then at the end of it all, I'll just go home and sort of repeat the process. And I sort of let that carry on for way too long. These are wisteria. Normally these are like sort of a beautiful lavender color, but because of Corona, a lot of different places went through to the local parks and just cut off all the flowers that had grown to keep people out of the parks en masse, to sort of keep Corona from spreading too much. It's really a shame, because of course these plants didn't do anything to anybody. But now, oppositely, they're also sort of overgrown. Never seen it like this before. And I think that's a cycle that a lot of people get caught in. And like I said, I've been here for 6 years, and probably that particular sort of lifestyle I didn't get out of until, I want to say maybe my third year, or until I met my fiance, kind of thing. And what a waste of time, really. And it's not as though I'm young. I'm young, but not in like the early 20s sense of being young, where I can afford to do that kind of thing. So some interesting fungus growing on this tree, some beautiful moss, and so how can you get yourself out of that sort of like long-term tourist mentality, right? And it's linked to this idea of loneliness, right? If you don't have any friends, you don't have a partner or something like that, like you feel like, okay, well, I don't really have any connection to the place, so of course you're going to feel like that sort of like transience, but one of the best things you can do is just sort of to get out and get involved and start like giving yourself things that'll make you care about where you live, and that can be like a favorite drinking hole, that can mean, getting involved in like, finding like just finding favorite things are really important to do in your local area. But most importantly, I think, is getting involved. Like, there are soccer clubs here, there are running clubs here for adults. If you're interested in trying out like Ikebana or something like that, right? Like going to like an Ikebana school and learning about that, because you'll meet people there, right? And it's really about being able to plant roots in your community. And I think one of the troubles is that a lot of people are so scared about it, Because of course they don't speak Japanese or whatever, and the same was true of me for, you know, the first couple of years that I was here. I didn't feel like I could speak well enough to do anything by myself. And also that's another sort of mistake that people make, I think, is like, you know, like you see it a lot on Twitter, especially with the popularity of Dogen. Like there's that joke, where's a cicada? He's probably close to death because he's just bouncing around the walls here. He's chilling now, but he was just trying to fly around. He's bouncing off the walls as he's doing so. But what I was saying is, like, you know, there's that joke that I guess has become more popular because of Dogen, like, right? 日本語上手ですねみたいなことが that kind of thing will be said to you kind of often, and people get it in their head where they're like, you know, they take that statement at face value, as opposed to people just trying to be nice to you and you know, give you a bit of a confidence boost to keep you going. You know, I feel like my brain is so scrambled and I can't keep anything together today as far as talking, but we're gonna keep going here as we head back towards home. You know, people will take that at face value, and then they think like what little Japanese they do speak is enough, and then when they find themselves in a situation where something really important is happening, whether in a shitty job situation or something like that, and they want to get out of it, you know, that's sort of like tourist mentality. I'll just get by on like a little bit of Japanese, or I'll just get by on being a foreigner and people want to help you out and that kind of thing. You know, when you find yourself in a shitty situation where you need to move forward, suddenly you're going to be stuck. So, you know, and I've talked about before how important it is, especially when you are in a English teaching situation, particularly in like schools that are like part of a system, like a big like national system, like they can get new teachers in very, very quickly. Maybe not so much right now because of what's happening with people not being able to come in from out of country, but you know, being able to empower yourself, being able to speak Japanese is a very, very good weapon. You know, I've talked about that a lot, so just talking about it now would be belaboring the point, I suppose, but get your ass going, I guess is what I want to say, because it's something that it's my biggest mistake now. My biggest regret thinking about it is like, okay, that first year I should have been getting out more and trying to understand what was happening around me more, and trying to do things more in tune with the way people do them, right? And making more connections. Now I have pretty good networks, I'm happy to say, professionally, personally especially. I'm really, really happy with the friends that I have and the family that I have here. So much of it was luck, to be honest, that I ever met these people, but professionally too, like, just, you know, I've talked about it to death, but just finding like your favorite watering spot and having the luck. I had really good luck because the people who went there are mostly like small business owners and that kind of thing, and building that kind of network. And I just really wish I had done it a lot sooner, you know? I really, really do love this area. Sorry, I feel like I'm talking more than showing you today. I wonder if that's the same guy as last time. Huh. Oh, you are a beautiful creature. But I've been thinking about it a lot, you know, because things are changing, and a lot of people's situation is becoming unsteady. Even in my situation before, where I told you that Corona wasn't really having much of an impact on my professional life, but now it's starting to, and it's just looking at, okay, well, what could I have done better to sort of better prepare myself for this kind of situation, right? And I thought maybe that the fruits of that self-evaluation might be useful to some of you out there. Even, I suppose they're not just about if you're going to be teaching or living here, they don't only apply to that. Maybe they can apply it to things that are happening in your life and in your country and that kind of thing. But, oh, hello, frog. He jumped away as soon as I wanted to show him to you. But yeah, so I guess that's it. I apologize, I feel like my brain is less organized than usual, but somehow this is going to be a shorter video than usual, despite that. So, let's continue to show you the scenery. Let's see, what should our parting question be for you today? Well, I guess, you know, if you are living here or you have lived here, what is something you wish you would have done quicker to sort of make your life easier personally and professionally? And even if you don't live in Japan, maybe if you move to another country or not even, just like what are some things that you wish you had done differently to sort of improve your life, I guess, right? That's something that I've been really interested in recently, is like trying to stop being so arrogant and thinking that I'm doing everything right, and trying to get more ideas from people, because there are people who are far more successful than I am. So, you know. Anyway, on that note, weird mood today, I guess, on that note. So we go through this tunnel of doom. Let's finish up our cuppa. Oh, there's a bunch of frogs down here. Can we see any of them? A bunch of them as we approach, like, there's like this cascading effect of jumping frogs. Oh, here's a little one. Hello. Can you see him right there? Oh, it's so hot. All right, on that note, guys, we are finished. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all very soon indeed. I love your faces. Goodbye.